Did you know that international students studying in Western Australia can pay upwards of $250,000 just to receive an education?
On top of financial burdens, international students and regional students are thrown into an environment which is new and alien. With social isolation from their family members and close friends and family, it can be a very daunting new experience, especially with no support network by their side.
Studies show that international and rural students who have to travel for study are considered high risk for poor mental health. Financial difficulties, loneliness and lack of support are three main contributors to this.
People over the age of 65 are subjected to illnesses, social isolation, and also injuries, which can lead to depression and anxiety.
We are Enactus Curtin, and we would like to acknowledge that we are standing on the land of the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation. We pay our respects to our elders past, present and emerging.
Studying abroad as an international student or traveling to a new city within your home country as a regional student can be one of the most exciting parts of a student's life. However, we found that with this comes a range of challenges. As an international student myself, I know this from personal experiences. In this exciting time when everything around us can be very daunting and far from home, it is easy to feel homesick. Domestic and foreign students generally have not left their parents and friends like this before, and there is always a feeling of wanting to go back home. Finance represents a large issue for regional and international students who are traveling to a new city, with living expenses representing a large proportion of this cost. On top of that, although international students are generally proficient in English, there are still large language barrier, as local slang and accent make it difficult to communicate. With the number of international students possibly set to increase following the relaxation of restrictions and the continual influx of regional students, we believe that making their experiences would not only be considerable for a student like me, but a positive impact to our community.
As a rural student, I have experienced firsthand the anxiety of moving to a new city for university, much like Lassie. I'm from a small rural town, so it was a massive adjustment moving to the big city where I didn't know anyone. The choice between living on campus or in other accommodation was a hard one. University colleges offer the chance to make friends and have that support network that can help you adjust to living away from home. However, these options are very expensive, which can make them inaccessible to some students. I myself was lucky enough to receive a scholarship that assisted me in managing the financial burden. Making the move at such a young age was confronting for various reasons. Not only did I lack the intimate family support I'm used to, I was forced to grow up very quickly. Living so far away from home was very stressful at first, not to mention isolating. Missing family events like birthdays only compounded my loneliness and made me feel more homesick. However, I know that loneliness isn't unique to me. There are other people in our community that this also affects.
We recognise that we don't know all the problems faced by independent seniors, so we reached out to someone who does. So how do you think that having a student living with you full time would benefit you?
Well, it would be good. It would give me company. Otherwise, I'm on my own. I've got a house to myself, so it would be good from my perspective. It'd be good from their perspective. It would give them the opportunity to speak to and live with somebody who is local and learn a bit about local culture. But there would have to be sort of mutual respect and understanding for what the arrangement was all about. There may be cultural challenges if it's a person from a different culture, so there could be a whole number of challenges. Obviously, older people generally aren't quite as tech savvy as younger people, so it would need to be very user friendly and fairly intuitive, easy to use. Older people generally don't have as much disposable income as they would like, so there's the income. But yeah, they could possibly help doing things around the house as well as part of the arrangement, so there's all kinds of possible benefits that may arise from it.
Here are the facts as we see it. We know that despite a 17% decrease in the number of international students travelling to Australia following the pandemic, there are still over 500,000 students within our borders. This is 8 times greater than the capacity of Perth's Optus Stadium. The combination of living expenses and education fees can cost in excess of $250,000. While regional students don't bear as high of a cost, moving to a new city means they often don't have the luxury of rent-free mum and dad accommodation. We know that for people over the age of 65, 1 in 3 have experienced something as simple as a fall in the last 12 months, with 1 in 5 of those seniors requiring hospital treatment as a result. We have found that people living independently are more prone to social isolation than those who do not. The problem is only growing with time, and it is estimated that by 2026, the number of people living independently over the age of 75 will balloon to over 800,000, meaning that more and more people will be vulnerable to social isolation.
Here at Enactus Curtin, we've researched the positive impact we can have on this situation. We've named the project Nulla Maya, which is Noongar for Our Place, pending approval from local Indigenous elders. Here's Jack to tell you a bit more about it.
Nulla Maya is a solution that we expect will have a meaningful impact on the issues that we have talked about. While it's still in its earliest stage, Nulla Maya is a proposed platform that allows seniors who are living independently to advertise their spare rooms within their homes that international and regional university students could find online and apply to, much like a traditional rental agreement, but only cheaper. Now, you might be asking, why wouldn't students just stay on existing campus-provided accommodation, renting a room for a similar cost or even in a similar student-based share house? Because Nulla Maya offers so much more than just a low-cost room. It offers a relationship with an individual who has a rich understanding of the local area. Now, on the flip side of this, seniors are able to advertise a room that they traditionally just have not been able to monetize, meaning more disposable income for this individual. With the new person living in their home, the senior would have someone to assist in the day-to-day chores, or simply someone to talk to at the end of the day. And this is where Nulla Maya would generate its income. We would take a percentage fee off of the weekly rent to cover all of our necessary expenses. And we intend to create a platform on which both seniors and students can engage with, where both parties can choose a potential match. This platform would exist in the form of an app, where seniors would be able to create an advertisement for their room, much like they would if they were putting an item up for sale or for rent online. They would be prompted to take photos of the room and add a short description of the room and themselves. For those with less of a technical knowledge, assistance could be provided by the Nulla Maya team to help them in uploading this vital information, be it with a hotline number or a visit to help them with just to set things up on the premises. This highlights one of the core aims of the app, which is to be as user-friendly as possible. We understand that there is a big rift in technical knowledge between students and seniors, so we need to make sure that the app can be easily utilised by seniors, reducing all friction where possible. Each user would create a profile of themselves, and students would browse a list of advertisements online, much like any existing app-based marketplace, selecting the room that suited their budget and their desires. When selecting the room, they would select the senior that they thought best suited the experience that they were intending to get out of their stay. After a successful match between the senior and the student, they would contact each other, ironing out any concerns or questions that they may have. Now, prior to the commencement of any lease, a vetting process would begin. This would serve as a critical component of the service, which would include undergoing a police check to ensure that everyone can feel safe with their new roommate, creating peace of mind for both the students and the seniors. Following successful contact and vetting, a leasing agreement would begin between the two parties, with the prompt arrival of the student soon thereafter. Now, we also recognise that not all relationships progress perfectly. Issues and disputes between parties can arise for a number of reasons. And with that in mind, we intend to maintain periodic communication with each party, giving them the opportunity to voice any concern that they may have before it spirals out of control.
So, how does Nulla Maya fit in with the UN Sustainable Development Goals? The UN's fourth goal seeks to create quality education for all. Well, we know that moving to a new city or country to study can be very expensive. By reducing the cost of housing for these students, we can reduce that financial burden, improving access to a quality tertiary education. This goal is fundamental to our initiative because we recognise that quality education is the backbone to a better society. On top of this, by pairing the senior with students from a range of cultures, made possible through a vetting process, we can create a safe and more inclusive housing environment for both the senior and the student. Sharing living expenses between the two will also work towards making housing more affordable. Safe, affordable and inclusive housing are core components of goal number 11, sustainable cities and communities. Sustainable development goal number 3 also aims to promote good mental health and well-being. As previously discussed, reducing financial stress and isolation will contribute to better mental health for both students and seniors who participate in the process.
So, how do we intend to get the project off the ground whilst having a meaningful impact on our community? Well, we see the project as having 3 key stages.
The first stage will revolve around doing a feasibility study of the project. This will require developing a firm understanding of how exactly the project would generate revenue. This would also include estimating the costs associated with the project, from marketing to the one-time costs associated with getting the idea off the ground. This study would be supported by research into similar initiatives. While competition is limited domestically, similar programs do exist internationally. Understanding the models of these programs would provide invaluable insight into development of our business plan.
The second stage would be centred around engaging stakeholders and building meaningful relationships. Here we would leverage the strengths of those relationships to kickstart the project. On top of this, developing a thorough understanding of the target demographic is critical. This will help us paint an educated picture of the need for our project.
Finally, the pilot stage, where we look to evaluate and execute. This would involve sending expression of interest to Curtin students and senior residents who are close to the Perth campus. Through these initial relationships, we would seek vital feedback to ensure the project is having the intended impact. The introduction of a vetting process and online website would be necessary to make this a viable project. Critically, the initial rollout would be marketed towards Curtin University students. Keeping the market narrow would allow us to better manage the project, although successful implementation could see this project scaled up across Australia.
There you have it. That was Nulla Maya. Thank you for taking the time to listen to our project, and we'd love to hear your feedback.